Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. My name's Stephanie and today I have a massive swatching review for the brand Color Department. So you may have seen me use this brand on my channel before, whether it's for some seasonal favorites or maybe just for some comparisons, but I've never done a proper swatch and review video for them. So I thought now that I have most of the collections that they've released so far, I might as well just do that and have a massive review video for them. So I'll be going in order of the collections that I've received. I'm only missing one, which is the holiday set, I think. So that won't be a part of this video, or the recent and limited edition Jamba Juice collab that they did. But if you do want to see that, let me know so that way I can just upload that as a separate video if you want. But yeah, I'll save more of my thoughts about this brand for the end. Let's just get into the swatches. First up, we have the Department 1 kit, which includes 7 polishes, and the first one we have is coconut water. So this one is your pretty typical white polish. It's just described as a fresh, neutral white, and the formula on this one isn't awful. As you can see on the first coat, it was a little bit streaky, but it does kind of self-level pretty well. But I only needed 2 coats to make this one fully opaque, even though it was pretty sheer on the first coat. I don't think this one leans too sheer that it's acrylic. I think this is probably the most cream-like from this first set. The next shade is Strawberry Jam, and this one is described as a French rose pink. Personally, this one kind of gives me bubblegum vibes, maybe a little bit darker, but either way, however you decide to describe this shade of pink, I think it's just so fun, especially for the spring and summer. But formula-wise, this one was a little bit more on the crelly side, so it was a little bit thinner and still very shiny, and it self-levels really nicely too. So I only needed 2 coats for this one. And yeah, I just really love this shade. I think it's just so cute for the season. The next shade we have is Morning Squeeze, and this one is described as a bright splash of citrus orange. So this one I think is the most crelly out of the Color Department shades, at least in this set. It definitely is pretty thin on the first coat. You could see through to my nail line a good amount, but it does give pretty good and even coverage, so it's not particularly streaky or anything. While I only did 2 coats for this one, I think in more direct lighting, you might be able to see through more to your nail line, so you might need a 3rd coat if you're not a fan of that look. But either way, I think the color is just so beautiful. It is just such a perfect, true orange shade, and I absolutely love the name. It's perfect for summer. The next shade we have is Kiwi Juice, and this one is described as a bright and bold kiwi green. So I really love this one. I just especially love lime kind of greens as the weather gets warmer, and this one is just so lovely. So you can see here with the formula, it is pretty full coverage on the first coat, and it does self-level pretty well for the most part. I know it's a little bit patchy on the right side of my nail, but I'm not really complaining about it too much. I think with most creams, you can expect them to be opaque in 2 coats. And yeah, this one was another 2-coater for me, and I just adore the color and again, love the name. The next polish we have is Avo Guac, and this one is described as an avocado green chartreuse. So I will have to disagree with this description, mainly the chartreuse part. I mainly see this as a true grassy type of green shade. Maybe it leans a little bit yellow, but I just don't really see chartreuse here. Either way, I think this is such a classic, true shade of green if you don't have one in your collection. And again, formula-wise, it was pretty much the same as the others so far, where it was a little bit on the crelly side, so a little thin and sheer in some spots on the first coat, but it builds up nicely in 2 coats, and it's just really shiny and juicy. The next shade we have is Hydrated, and this one is described as a light teal blue. So again, I don't really agree with this description. I see this as a true sky blue. I don't see it leaning teal at all, honestly, but I'm not mad at it. This is honestly one of my favorite colors from this first kit, and I'm pretty sure I included it as a favorite in my summer favorites video last year, and I still stand by it. It is just so beautiful. As tempted as I might be to paint some cute little clouds over this perfect sky blue, I think there's just something so refreshing about a mani this color. And the last shade from this first kit is called Grape Soda, and this one is described as a striking bright purple. So this one is definitely a beautiful shade. It's another one that I actually included in my summer favorites last year. It is just so fun. I don't really gravitate towards red leaning purples like this, but I think they're just such a fun color, especially for the summer. But formula-wise, as you saw on the first coat there, it definitely was really sheer, so this is another one that leans very much on the crelly side. So here on 2 coats, I feel like you can still see my nail line a good amount. So I did end up doing a 3rd coat for this one just because I would prefer wearing this shade in more fuller coverage. As you probably know, I don't mind seeing some nail line. I actually really love jellies in the summer, but I feel like these shades were meant to be a little bit more opaque. So yeah, that's just why I'm building it up. But overall, I absolutely love this color and I love this whole first kit. Now we're jumping into the Department 3 kit, which features 4 pastels, and this first shade is Gone Bananas. This one is just described as a mellow yellow, but I really love this one. I think it is just such a fun banana yellow that's also very bright and sunshiny at the same time, and this one had a really nice formula. Generally, I feel like the polishes in this 3rd kit are a little bit more on the creamy side, like what you would expect from normal cream polishes. So yeah, I found that this one was fully opaque for me in 2 coats. It's self-leveled really nicely, and I just love how bright this shade is. It's so nice for this time of year. Up next, we have Peace of Mind, which is this earthy pale green. I also really love this shade. The specific tone of green I think is just so soothing and calming, so I love the name, just really reflects that. And again, the formula on this one was just so buttery smooth and so creamy, so it is very much a different formula than the first collection. But yeah, overall, this is just such a beautiful color, beautiful formula, and I love it so much. I really have been loving greens like this for spring. Next up, we have Forget Me Not, which is this beautiful retro pastel blue that I feel like has a little bit of dustiness, so it leans ever so slightly like a cornflower kind of blue, which I am so obsessed with in the springtime, so this is another favorite. Generally, overall, I think this whole collection is my favorite just because of the softer pastels with the really soothing but very bright tones at the same time. So I just really love them. It was just kind of weird because this quad was released in like the fall of last year, so that was strange, but I got to show them love recently. The last shade in this kit is Talk to Me, which is a playful pink with hints of pastel, rose, and mauve. So I actually had shared this one in my favorite Valentine's Day shades. I love this pink. It is just so pretty. I think it's so flattering, and I really do think it toes the line between being a really fun, playful bubblegum pink, but then those rosy, dusty tones just elevate it a little bit, so it's more of a romantic and elegant, flirty pink. I just adore this one. Unsurprisingly, another favorite. And lastly, for the Department 4 kit, the first polish we have is Wisteria, and this one is a light pastel lavender. So this kit came out just a couple of months ago, earlier this year, and I feel like it was such a beautiful transitional kind of collection. where these shades give me late winter, early spring vibes. Obviously, this is one of the more springy shades, and it's definitely another favorite of mine. It is just so pretty, and I love how bright it is. This one was fully opaque for me in 2 coats, and generally most of the polishes in this kit were on the true cream side, but there were a few more sheer ones. The next shade we have is Blank Canvas, and this one is described as a moody nude that's perfect for all seasons. So this one, I am still figuring out how I feel about this shade. So formula-wise first, as you can see, this one is a little bit streaky on the first coat, a little patchy here and there, but very even coverage, easy to apply. So this one was another easy 2-coater. But yeah, going back to the color, I feel like this just maybe isn't my nude, and it leans ever so slightly towards that foundation kind of color. I think I would personally love this in some nail art, but maybe not as a full manicure, at least not on me personally, but it's a really nice shade. The next shade we have is Nice Day, and this one is described as a soft rose pink. So unsurprisingly, this is another favorite of mine. I just think there's something so romantic and flattering about this shade. I just love it so much. Formula-wise, it was really nice and creamy. I didn't end up grabbing enough polish on the first wipe, so I had to dip back in. But as you can see, you can barely even tell that I had to do that. It self-levels so nicely. So this was another one that was perfectly opaque for me in 2 coats, definitely more on the creamy side, and I think this is probably like a very classic shade that everyone should have in their collection. It's just so pretty, but I can see so many people think this is like such a boring shade, but I just think it's so flattering. Next up we have Wine Sips, and this one is described as a muddy mauve pink with a hint of plum. So it's probably the first time I've actually seen a polish described itself as muddy. I don't know if I would go as far as agreeing with that part, but I can definitely see the mauve, the hint of plum, and this is another one that I really love, especially for that coming out of winter time of year, which I know we are well past that, but yeah, as you saw on the first coat, this one was a little bit more sheer, not as creamy and full coverage as some of the other shades, but it does build up perfectly fine for me in 2 coats. And yeah, I really like this one, and I think this can work really nicely in the fall too, but it's a little too dusty for my taste for right now. Next up we have Moss, and this one is a deep and intense forest green. So this is definitely another one that I would wait to wear until the weather gets cooler. But color aside, the formula on this one was definitely a little weird, but I think maybe I just didn't grab enough polish on the brush, and then I started to swipe away at the polish that was there. I just tried not to be so heavy-handed since I have a tendency to do that, and these brush handles hold a lot of polish already, so I apologize for that first application. I think it's really just me and not the formula, because once I did a slightly thicker second coat, it evened everything out and it looks totally opaque and perfect. So yeah, this is definitely a really nice shade of green that I would consider wearing in the fall time. The next shade we have is Dark and Stormy, and this one is a deep, electrifying navy blue. So I feel like it's picking up a little bit brighter on camera. There is a slight element of dustiness to this shade, and I absolutely adore that. I just really love dusty, dark blues like this. And this one is just so flawless. Here on the first coat, you can see it gives really nice, even coverage. Still not exactly a 1-coater by any means, so I did just have to go in for a second coat to fill in any little light spots that there were. But yeah, I think this shade is so pretty. I love the name. and this is definitely more of the winter side of the collection for me personally, but I cannot wait to wear this in the cold months. I think it's just so pretty. And last but certainly not least, we have the only shimmer in the collection shades that I have, at least. This one is called Supernova, and it's a sparkly blue with navy undertones. So this one is absolutely stunning. It is a little bit more on the crelly side. So here on the first coat, it is quite sheer, but you can see just how much shimmer is in there. But I only needed 2 coats to build this up to full coverage, and I was honestly really impressed with how much depth there was in the shimmer in this shade. It was really hard to capture even when I tried moving the lighting around, but there is a purple shift to this that I just wasn't expecting, and it was really pretty. So overall, I was really happy with this shade because I feel like usually when brands release a lot of creams and then they release a shimmer, it just doesn't stand out that much, but this one definitely did. And that wraps up my swatch and review for color department. As always, I'd love to know what your thoughts are on this brand, especially if you have seen them on social media before, because I did get a few DMs from people once I shared the more recent PR asking if I could review these because they've seen them around a lot, but not really outside of like nail art or something. So yeah, hopefully this video was helpful to introduce you to the brand and more importantly to see their formulas. Again, I'm sorry that I am missing that one collection, otherwise this would be like a really nice and complete video of like their full catalog. But yeah, color department is still a pretty new brand. I mean, they only have had 4 collections so far, so color wise it's not the strongest variety. They obviously have a lot of cream finishes. I only have the one shimmer here, but I think there is a kind of shimmery glitter metallic sort of shade in the holiday collection, but then everything else is a cream. So if you're into creams, this is definitely a great brand to try some new shades. But yeah, as far as the formulas go, again, they are pretty good for the most part. I really think it is just the first collection that has more of the crelly leaning formula, and I don't really know how intentional that was. I think with some of the shades it does work because it does give that like juicy, bright finish that I think really works nicely in the summertime. But if you are looking for like super creamy, opaque coverage, you're not really gonna get that with like these first collection shades. But I think with the other polishes and the other collections, they were all opaque in 2 coats basically. So the formulas were really nice there. As far as their availability, I believe that they are only sold on their website, which as always I will have linked down below. But I have heard some of my friends mention that they've found a few color department shades in their local TJ Maxx or Marshalls. So maybe you can check that out. I've never seen them, but you never know. And obviously at those stores, they are usually like $4 or $5 maybe, so even more affordable than they currently are listed at. But I personally think that these are really affordable even if you do order them online because they're only $10. And I don't know about you, but there are a ton of influencer brands out there, and sometimes when they come out, I am just floored at the prices that they will list their products. Obviously, I know that there are a lot of factors that go into it, whether it's the ingredients that they're using or maybe their location or just making sure that it's sustainably sourced and ethically made. And I do understand that, and I love brands that have those values, but it's nice to see that color department has those same values but is still making them affordable. So that's a big plus in my book. But yeah, I'm super curious to know any and all thoughts that you have down below so we can chat about it. But thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.